what does never leave home without it mean? It used to mean not leaving your credit card at home. Today, it means do not leave your cell phone at home. According to the EPA, in 2009, discarded TVs, keyboards, computers, cell phones total about 2.37 million tons of waste in landfills. Today, I'm going to introduce you to a revolutionary idea called the phone block. I'm going to touch base on 3 items. The first one is waste in landfills containing cell phones and the cost savings of recycling them and the new platform. The second item is how the new platform will work, the phone block. And the third is how to get this idea off the ground. The first item, which is waste and cost savings, of the 2.37 million tons of waste, according to the EPA, 200,000 tons are cell phones. So imagine 200,000 tons of cell phones sitting in a landfill. They approximate that to about 64 million cell phones sitting in the landfill today. Usually 62% of cell phones are recycled and reused for their precious metals, and 38% of those phones are reused. And the second item is how it works. This new platform called Phone Block. Imagine a phone made of pieced together like Legos. I'm pretty sure everyone's played with Legos before. Imagine the phone having a base, all the components in a square block, and all parts are interchangeable, and everyone can customize their own phone. Currently, according to Kantar World Panel Contact.com, Android and Apple own 95% of market share in the United States. And this revolutionary idea, which is the phone block, can change all that, because everyone would able to customize their own phone, their own screen size, their own screen size. Everyone's different. There's people that like to use their phones as cameras, and there's different people that like to watch videos. So you can increase the size of your screen on your phone, or you can have a bigger battery for video playing, or a bigger camera on. So imagine all these parts put together on the back of your phone. It'll be an open source network, so each company will be working together to create parts for this phone. Probably not Apple and Google, because they own 95%, and they don't want to hear about companies putting together a better phone than theirs. So the open source platform will create other markets for components like Intel, Dragon. They make processors. AMD could get into this mix. Other companies that makes lithium-ion batteries can also get into this, and change how we use and buy phones. Each phone costs about $650 on average today. Apple costs $650. If all these companies were to come together and create this phone, it would cut the cost by half. Okay, and now how to get the idea off the ground. It first starts with interest. Everybody needs to voice their interest on a better phone than Apple, or a better phone than Google. Voice your opinion on what your needs are, and the investors and designers will cater to our interests. So when we're talking about the investors, how do we get the investors interested in this platform? You know, of course, with our interests, they would get together, have a conference, and go into a meeting and design and create the platform. Okay. In conclusion, so we have to voice our opinions, and get the platform out there. Thank you.
Lauren, share your ideas here. Let us know what you thought.
Well, I really like your topic. I think it's really relevant to everyone today, and I want a phone like that now. That's really cool how it's completely customizable. You have a lot of good examples. You just make it really, the topic is just really relatable to everyone today. I think it's really relatable to everyone in this class. And I think that you kind of lacked a little bit of emotion in your speaking, which I think is like a problem for most people. That you did lack emotion. The eye contact was mostly on your right side of the room, and like you didn't really look over here. The conclusion was kind of rushed at the end. And I felt like you just kind of like cut it off, and you didn't really like explain, like there wasn't really a visualization on what would happen if we didn't, like I felt like you could have explained like what would happen later if the landfills like built up or something, like you could have ended it a little more like that. And yeah, that's it.
All right. There's an idea somewhere in here that sounds intriguing, and the suggestion that there's an alternative way for phones to operate is an important one. I think you need to show, though, that there's a need for people to have these kinds of options. When you say that you mentioned Apple and Android have 95% of the market, there's probably a reason that they got 95% of the market. They're satisfying most people's needs. And in fact, they probably created needs that people didn't have before. Everybody's basically carrying a little computer around in their pocket now. The phone isn't just a phone anymore. Most people are using it for data, for information. You've got all the apps that that come along with the smartphones that go on there. You mentioned cameras, for instance. Phones get more and more sophisticated with the cameras that they've got on there all the time. So the question that I'm sitting here going, okay, so what is it that people want that they don't have? Or what is it that they're paying for that they don't need? And those seem to be like that's what's jumping out at me about what this phone is all about.
I skipped over that and I just lost it.
Yeah, because I'm a little bit lost. I'm thinking, maybe I don't want an Apple with all of that other fancy stuff. I want to be able to make phone calls and take pictures and maybe take a memo, but I don't need a GPS. I don't need Siri bossing me around. I don't. I don't want to, be able to play 1,000 games on it. I don't want to download music onto it and all those kinds of things. Shouldn't I be able to get a phone that does the 3 things that I want and not the 5,000 other things that every smartphone can do? you know, that sort of thing. I think that's kind of the point that you're trying to make, and that as a result, we would maybe save some resources. You start talking about all the cell phone waste and everything, and I'm thinking, well, okay, you know, how much more or how much less material are we going to use with this phone block formatting of building a phone than we use currently? And I have no idea. Phones have gotten smaller, you know, or they stayed pretty close to the same size. I mean, they got smaller, then they got bigger, then they got smaller again, and now they're getting bigger again. But it's mostly because, you know, the processing stuff that's going on there, the sophistication of what they can do, and you know, you can do all that because the technology gets all that stuff smarter and smaller and all those sorts of things, which is why, you know, you look at the cell phones that people had 15 years ago, you know, that big block that people carried around with the antenna on it that everybody jokes about. You know, nowadays it looks so ancient, and that was huge. And now you look at somebody's cell phone, and I'm looking at your cell phone sitting right there, and it's a little bitty thing, and it can do thousands of things. How much smaller do we need to make it so that we're not having all the landfills filled up with this crap? You know, and then I was a little confused because at one point you say, you know, 68% gets recycled, and then 32% gets recycled. And I'm going, well, that's 100%. You know. So it's different from reused or recycled, or you know, what is the difference between those kinds of things? We take the metal out, but we use the parts again. I'm not quite sure. I've got this whole vision in my head from the Lego reference too. I like that metaphor, but I'm going, okay, so what am I? How does this all go together? Is it like you just have a unibody, and I would go in and get, you know, here are the 5 blocks that you plug into your phone. Okay, that sounds kind of interesting. And how could this be cheaper? You mentioned how much people are paying for their phones. I think we need a little bit more explanation on this. The number of people in here who paid $700 for their phone is probably relatively small. At least that way. They pay for their phones by paying for the service and agreeing to contract. I mean, the phone I use, I don't have it. I can't even pull it out. I didn't bring it with me today. This is the first day in forever, and I'm perfectly happy not having it. Too many crickets. It's, you know, I spend money on it. It does all those kinds of things, but I sure didn't spend nearly what you're talking about on it. And the other day, you know, I replaced my wife's phone, and it was $1.67 to replace the phone. I'm just extending a contract. That's mostly what I'm paying for, is the contract, not the phone itself. And I'm going, so how is this going to fix that problem if we still have to have contract? Or maybe we won't have to have those anymore. I don't know. That's the thing that's unclear about what's going on.
I was supposed to say the contracts are going to go away.
Yeah, I think you need to explain more what's going on with the phone so that it makes more sense. You're already talking about how we can build these things and how do we get people to invest it, and I'm going, well, what is it I'm building and why do I need it? And that's what's missing here. All right, thank you.